Kingsley,
Tanner.
what's up?
Not much. I've been doing a lot of searching recently. A lot of searching in here, and online. And I gotta say, things are different than what I'm used to.
Really?
Yeah. I fear I'm having some kind of rapid onset reverse Benjamin Button disease where I'm becoming an old man really quickly.
Yeah.
And search is not as good as it used to be. When I was a young man, I used to Google stuff or pretend that I've ever binged stuff, or ask Jeeves, and he would give me like some things to look at.
Dude, shouts out to Jeeves.
Yeah.
That's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
That makes me feel old.
Well, he's gone now.
It's just ask.com now, right?
Is it even ask.com? Is ask.com anything?
I think it might be. Yeah. But Jeeves is gone.
Yeah. I noticed that, a little peek behind the curtain here for the viewers at home. You didn't just go to ask.com, you Googled ask.com.
Yeah, you got me. Yeah, I definitely agree that the state of search engines like Google or ask.com or Bing, it seems like they are a lot less helpful than they used to be, perhaps, if I'm being gracious.
Yeah.
And this is something that has been on my mind a lot lately too. As you know, I got my start in my career in search engine marketing. For the layman out there, SEO or search engine optimization is an entire industry, right? That's set up around getting a company or a private web page to the top result of Google for a specific search term, right? Or as close to the top result as you can get.
Okay, so what you're saying is that there's some kind of group of shadowy figures behind the scenes influencing what I can and cannot see when I Google stuff.
Essentially, yeah. It's actually interesting too because in the SEO industry, they use this term white hat and black hat SEO from the perspective of like wizards, like Lord of the Rings,
Okay.
like Gandalf and Saruman. And so it's like, and then that refers to the type of tactics that you can use to get your web pages to the top of Google. So if you do things the proper way and you follow the etiquette of SEO, then you're like the Gandalf of SEO. And if you use the more nefarious dark magic, then you're like the Saruman of SEO.
Certainly.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Welcome to Number Goes Up.
Welcome to Number Goes Up. Thank you. And speaking of Number Goes Up, the search engine optimization and search engine marketing is truly an industry, is truly a business where the most important thing is making the number go up.
Yeah.
It's all about making the number go up. So I think it's a fun little topic to explore. As you know, Kingsley, obviously Kingsley is my coworker. And it's one of my main responsibilities at GLOBIS is working on search engine optimized content. That's how I got my start in my career after college. So this is a topic that I'm both passionate about and versed in. So, and as the co-host of Number Goes Up, I love watching the number go up.
Yeah.
So, like you were saying earlier, when the internet was in its earliest phases, I guess, a question I wanted to ask you is, do you really remember a time where Google wasn't an essential part of your internet browsing experience?
It's the turn of the century. We are in school libraries across the country. People are going into the computer room at their house and going on MSN.com.
Yeah.
And searching for things there, or just like remembering websites. This is like maybe, I feel like Google was really in my main wheelhouse. I would say 1999,
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah, for sure.
But pre that, yeah.
Yeah, so because Google as we know it today was first launched in 1998.
Okay.
And then I think somewhere around the early 2000s is when it really started to take hold and kind of became almost like the ultimate gatekeeper of the internet. and not even in a nefarious way. Obviously, we all understand, if you're watching or listening to this podcast, we all understand how revolutionary and important Google has been to basically society as a whole. I mean, the way that it enabled anybody in the world to look up and access information that they wouldn't otherwise be able to find, was a huge deal.
And the way that we receive ad revenue from them and their platform is a huge deal.
Exactly. And I think because that it almost felt like magic to everybody back in the day is where these like nerdy wizard comparisons come from with like working that Google algorithm. But the point being is that somewhere along the lines in the early 2000s, everybody started to realize how important it is to appear in the top results of the Google search engine for specific keywords, right? So for example, if you're like a boutique banana dealer, right?
Yeah.
You would want your website to show up at the very top of Google when somebody searches bananas, right? Just as an example. Or if you're selling cat food, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If someone is searching for cat food, the reason why that's so important for marketers and how it's completely shaped the internet is because if somebody is searching for cat food on Google, we can assume they are probably interested in purchasing cat food, right?
Yeah.
Or learning about different types of cat food. And so while Google originally kind of came on the scene as a way to help people navigate the internet, it quickly also became a tool for marketers and business people to literally target people who could potentially be interested in their products, right?
Right.
Based on the keywords that they're searching.
Yeah.
And so in the early through mid 2000s, keywords became king for content creation on the internet. If you cared about being found on the internet, the best way to do that was to optimize your content around specific keywords.
Right.
So blogs, primarily blogs at this time.
Blogs.
Yeah.
The rest.
Text-based content, right? And so how would you do that? If you're trying to target people who are interested in cat food, you would want to make your entire website as highly optimized as possible around the keyword cat food, right?
Yeah, and how does one do that exactly?
Yeah, it's crazy. So basically, Google has always been very, I don't want to say cagey, but it's a part of the system where Google basically doesn't publicly share exactly how their algorithm works.
Yeah, because otherwise everyone would be gaming the system.
Exactly.
So instead, people are gaming the system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then that's what kind of spawned this entire industry of people using kind of anecdotal evidence and making educated guesses about what works and what doesn't work. And over time, what we discovered is, especially in the earliest days of the internet, basically putting that keyword like cat food on your webpage as much as possible was the #1 way to show Google's algorithm like, hey, these guys get cat food,
Yeah,
right?
they're saying cat food many, many times.
Saying cat food many, many times. And what Google really wants, what they've always said they really want, is to show their user, like you searching for cat food, the best possible content about cat food that they can. You know, that's Google's main job here, right? So in the very early days of the internet, we had issues where people would literally just make web pages, and then at the bottom they would write cat food like 100 times.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like in white text on a white background or something.
Yeah, exactly. So baby Google was like, man, these guys love cat food, right? And then over time, Google's algorithm started to get a little bit more sophisticated, and it started to realize that just because you said cat food 200 times doesn't mean you're the ultimate authority on cat food.
Right.
So then we started to evolve to this situation where we want to prove to Google's algorithm that we are the highest authority on cat food. We know the most about cat food, and we can offer the most helpful information to cat food enthusiasts around the world, right?
Yeah.
And so around this era, like around the mid-2010s, I would say we're at now, the world at large has completely adopted Google as the go-to way to access the internet, I would say. Google is like a verb. To Google is a verb in the dictionary these days. It's a colloquial term that everybody knows and says. And so without thinking about it now, Google has kind of become the #1 authority for everybody around the world to find information.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. People don't say look it up anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I'll Google that. And then I think, too, inherently, we kind of trust that Google is showing us whatever Google decides should be at the top. We don't really overthink, well, maybe I should scan 10, 20 results and then see which one is best for me.
Right.
You know, we do have data that suggests that like 90% of people click on the first result.
Well, why would they put it there if it wasn't what I was looking for?
Right, exactly. And so the SEO industry catches on to this, right? And then it becomes this kind of like rat race to create as much content as possible surrounding your keywords that signals like authority. And then what we mean by that is like top 5 cat foods for cats that have skin issues, you know? Top 10 cat foods for cats that need to lose weight. 7 cat foods that your kitten should eat if they live in Florida. You know what I mean? Just like as many different types of informative content as you can get surrounding this overall topic. And at this point too, we get a lot of like SEO content farms. So even stuff for like comic book movies or video games, like nerd culture, I mean anything, right? Anything that you could think of that could ultimately sell somebody something, we have these blogs, and anyone listening or watching has definitely come across these blogs that are just nonstop listicles talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, over and over again. And so, obviously, this is a great way to sell people stuff, right? This is a great way to make the number go up for your business.
Yeah.
So you want the number to go up on Google. You want to rise to the top because the higher you are on the Google algorithm, the Google search results pages,
Right.
the more clicks you're going to get. Right?
Yeah.
And then the more people land on your webpage, the more people will buy your stuff, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
So by this point, Google is starting to become this kind of cyclical, self-fulfilling prophecy of people creating content, not so much for the end user anymore, but for Google's algorithm.
Right.
To convince Google's algorithm that they are the best page on the internet for this topic. So Google pushes it up to the top, more people click on it, people think, if this cat food boutique seller is the top result on Google, they must know what they're talking about. It builds brand recognition, it builds sales, the numbers are through the roof.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But around this time too, I mean, I don't know, do you feel like you've noticed throughout time that the results that you find on Google or other search platforms have become less helpful or less relevant?
I would say that if we're going on the trajectory you've described, I would say that even after we got to the listicles part of it, where it's all kind of like repetitive articles that are trying to get you to click on it, even they usually had the nugget of information that I was looking for. It was just kind of, you had to read between the lines sometimes. Like, for example, if I'm looking for Japan's #1 MBA program, I'm liable to find something from Globis University, Japan's #1 MBA program. And that information, I mean, is what I was looking for, and is, I have to take off my cynicism hat for a second. It's genuinely the stuff that I'm looking for and what is useful to me in this instance. Recently, though, I have noticed that ever since we've entered the new AI arms race, that rather than having the things people have written presented and like trying to compete against each other, it's just some amalgamation of some information wrapped up. Sometimes it's accurate, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, for sure. And we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but I feel like we've gotten to this point because of this feedback loop of user interaction with the websites that are being shown. And so, like you were just saying as well, we have these web pages where there are nuggets of useful information, but they're kind of buried in all this other stuff. It was a really popular meme a couple years ago that you Google a recipe and then someone is telling you their entire life story, and it's like a nicely formatted WordPress blog page with 5 headings. They all have, like if you're looking for a borscht recipe, and it's like my great babushka's borscht recipe that's been passed down through the ages, and then the first heading is, you know, how it all started, 18 whatever, and then it goes down this whole thing, and then at the very end of the page is the recipe that you were looking for. But the thing is, if they just showed you the recipe at the very top of the page, you would immediately see the recipe, maybe you would screen grab it, or you would get the information that you need, and you would leave the web page, right?
Right.
So what Google looks for to see if the website is working is if someone clicks on it, first and foremost, obviously, and then also how long people stay on the page, right? And that's motivated by ads.
Yeah.
You know, so Google also has their own platform for showing ads on web pages, and so the longer somebody stays on a website, the more likely their eyeballs are to look at the ads. And so the people that run those websites make more money.
Yeah.
So Google is incentivized to keep showing people the articles that are being clicked on the most. And then the content creator is incentivized to keep people on that page for as long as possible to make more ad money.
Right.
And then people, just internet users at scale, have gotten accustomed to this idea that I should be clicking on whatever web page is at the top.
Right.
And so that is what turns into this feedback loop of whether or not it's the best article or whether or not it really has the information you're looking for. Because it's on the top of Google, people are clicking on that one more than anything else, right? And then once they click onto it, the content creator is incentivized to keep them on that page for as long as possible. I would say most of the time that's not because the article is super interesting, it's because they're trying to navigate it to find what they're looking for.
But it doesn't, that qualitative information is not included in,
Exactly. And so now we get to this AI arms race era, right? So much more recently, we've gotten to the point where when you Google a question, which became a very common thing, I would say, around the mid-2000s. People just started typing actual full sentences into Google.
Right, and then it started at that point, because originally Google, if you searched for something, it would just give you a list of links.
Right.
And then eventually, like you said, in the mid-2000s, they started putting a little summary. So if you were to like Google, like, when is Will Smith's birthday, it would show a picture of him and then like his birthday. And you wouldn't, and then, whereas before, maybe you would have to like look through his Wikipedia article to find it. It's just right there. You don't leave Google's infrastructure.
Right. Yeah. And so Google refers to that as search intent. So when we evolved from the early internet that was much more focused on just full-on keywords, then the Google algorithm started to evolve a little bit more and was able to sort of suss out like what are you really looking for, right?
Right.
So we were talking about this earlier as well. If you Googled a specific type of shoe and a shoe size, obviously you're going to be shown that shoe. Like if you're looking for Jordans, right, in red Jordans in a size 12, they'll show you the top search results for that particular shoe, but then they're also going to show you like blogs about the best shoes, and like if you like Jordans, like these shoes are just as good as Jordans, but they're a little bit cheaper, et cetera, et cetera. And again, this is Google trying to show you what they think is best for you, but I think you had like a really interesting point about how that is not necessarily the case, but Google builds that correlation because people are clicking on it anyway.
Yeah, they're clicking on it and then they're on there and it
builds that feedback loop. So people caught on to this, and I'm guilty of this as well. So we're going past the mid-2000s here, now we're approaching the 2020s, we're into the 2020s. Harambe is long gone. Everything is weird, we're old now. Going on the internet makes us feel old, and now Google has Gemini, their AI tool. So when you search a particular question on Google, more often than not at this point, Gemini, the AI chatbot, will give you just a straight up answer without directing you to a web page at all.
Right.
You know, and that's called no-click search. So that's where we're at. Google has gotten to the point where they want their users to not have to click on any web page at all to get the answer to their question or find what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So we've spent 20 years building this industry around optimizing the entire internet around Google's algorithms based on best guesswork, right? And now we've gotten to this point where Google doesn't really want anyone to click on any other website at all.
And why is that?
It's because of ads, man. It's because of money.
Yeah.
It's because the money, they want the number to go up. So people can run ads on the Google search results as well, which I'm sure everyone has seen. For a very long time now, you can literally pay to have your ad as the top results.
Right.
Right. And so why direct people to go to other websites to look at ads, right? Where they have to share the ad revenue with those websites, where they can just share ads on the Google search results page, and they don't have to share those that ad revenue with anybody.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I
fair.
mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes their number go up.
Yeah.
So the last like interesting phenomena that I wanted to talk about is like the Reddit phenomenon. So around about this time, people started catching on that like if I'm looking for a borscht recipe or if I'm looking for cat food for my kitten that has skin issues, right?
Why not just feed it the borscht?
Why not just feed it the borscht? That's something to look into. But also, I don't care about your grandma's life story. You know what I mean? I just want the borscht recipe. And so what people started doing is just tagging the word Reddit onto the back of their search queries. So that is a way to cut through the noise of these web pages that people started to realize are less incentivized to give you what you're looking for and more incentivized to keep you on the page as long as possible and kind of like overwhelm you with all these results. So do you think that people on Reddit are trustworthy?
I mean, technically, the people of Reddit are the same as the people of other websites, of catborscht.com or whatever. It's all just strangers online.
Right,
so
exactly.
I guess no, but sometimes they're right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the state of search engines and the state of the internet in general these days has kind of brought us to this point where people trust random Reddit users more because they feel like people on Reddit are more incentivized to be honest about what they're saying because Reddit is just kind of like its own ecosystem of, social proof by the amount of upvotes that people get and stuff like that. And I think especially if you're looking up stuff about video games or like I'm trying to decide between these two external batteries, like which one do you think is best? It's easier to trust somebody on Reddit who at least you feel like doesn't have real skin in that game. They're just sharing their actual opinion.
Yeah.
Versus external batteries that my grandma loved back in the day.com, right?
Right.
You can kind of tell that this whole thing is designed to sway your opinion one way or the other. So anyway, people start tagging Reddit on the back end of the search results. And I actually found myself doing this more and more often too. I'm a big video gamer. And I often look up guides and help for the little fantasy chores that I like to do in my free time to do them as optimally as possible so I can make my make-believe numbers go up too.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing to do.
It's important to be optimal.
Yeah, I love making number goes up. And here we are. When you search for something on Google now, it's mostly like Quora and Reddit results at the top, right? And now we have Gemini, who is what Gemini is doing is looking at all of the top results that Google would typically be showing you and summarizing it on their own. And nowadays, if you look at what Gemini is citing, it's largely Reddit and Quora posts. So it's just Google regurgitating and summarizing what some guy or gal on Reddit said.
Which I guess in a sense is not so different from their perspective as, I mean, it's not like Google was creating the content that its users were looking for ever in the first place. But like, do you have any sense of how these sites that rely on advertisers are responding to the fact that Google is trying to cut them out?
It's just absolute pandemonium right now.
Yeah.
I've been in like the SEO game for maybe 7 years now, I would say. And it's always been a fast moving industry. Like things are always changing. And that's a part of what drew me to it. Like I literally just said, I unironically love watching numbers go up. And the SEO industry is all about like bobbing and weaving around what Google is doing in the background and trying to play that game to keep your numbers going up. But these days, since like AI really blew up, it's getting harder and harder to understand what Google is doing in the background. But I think these days, text-based content centered around like entire blog websites centered around creating articles about the same things, the kind of feedback loop. I honestly think those days are pretty much dead and gone. And nowadays, people are looking for TikToks, like short form videos, and Reddit posts, like user generated content would be the industry term. I think user generated content is the new hotness in the search engine world, because the way that Google and other search engines work and the way that we have interacted with them for the past 20 years has gotten us to this point where we've stopped believing in the system that we sort of helped create. And so now when you see somebody's face on TikTok and they're saying, hey, I bought this product, I really like it, that feels a lot more authentic and trustworthy than these content farms that it feels cynical. It feels like they're just trying to sell us something and they don't really care about our dollar or yen or like end experience with that product. And so I think that's why too, like the reason why Gemini is looking to Reddit and Quora for their own results is because, Gemini is just an algorithm that's saying like, hey, most people look at Reddit to get their answers from. So most people want to hear from Reddit over anything else. So we're just going to recycle what has been said on Reddit.
Yeah. So like, then my question, or I have a few questions, but like, how do you think this affects the ability for somebody to create long form written content and have that discovered? Because there are some things like, if you're looking for, like if I'm looking for somebody to like list or to say a cat food that their cat enjoyed, I don't necessarily need more than a sentence or an article or a TikTok on that. But if I'm looking for something about like, sometimes, for example, I'm buying an appliance. And I would like to see how different washing machines compete based on features at different price points. And I don't think that really has the potential to go very viral on TikTok and have an algorithm decide to serve that information to me. And I don't want to watch a 45-minute YouTube video on that. So like, if all this disappears and I have to just like look at different Reddit posts, like what happens to the people who were doing research and were doing like the good work?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, so I guess I have two different answers depending on which way we're looking at it. So from the perspective of the content creator and from the perspective of the user or audience, I think I have two different answers.
All right.
So
lay me with lay the content creators on me and then the user.
Yeah, so as a content creator, I think, and this sounds so hokey to say, but it's true. Like what we all need to go back to, dude, we're content creators, obviously. It's like people, and
that's content.
That's content, and the reason why we're doing these podcasts, right, is because it's an authentic experience. It's us just being real in front of the camera. And so, if you want to focus on long form written content, I think it's really about building a personal brand. So we're seeing very quickly now that we have to unlearn all of these habits and lessons that we learned over the past 20 years. So that's going to be hard, and it's going to take some time, because
Right.
for the longest time we've been taught it's not so much about what you say, but how you say it. And so if you've wanted to make a successful career for yourself writing online, you've sort of either had to adopt to those standards or just kind of like stick to your guns and do what you want to do and hope you cut through the noise. But now, these days, that latter strategy, I think, is going to pay off a lot more down the road. But unfortunately, what that means is I think it's going to be extremely difficult to be able to find success and find readership just by posting long form written content and putting it out there, even if you do some keyword optimization, etc. So what you really have to do is start a YouTube channel, start a TikTok, start an Instagram, start a Substack, and have your personal website, and use all of those individual search engines that are focused on user-generated content that has your face out there, essentially restating what is written on your long-form content to build trust and build a relationship with your ultimate readership, and try to pull them over into your long-form content and get readers that way.
Okay, so get 4 jobs to do your 1 job.
Yeah, man, exactly.
Excellent.
That's literally the state of things now. Even for if you want to write a book and be an author, the top 5 publishing houses really want to see you have a social media like presence. They want you have to sell your book too, you know. They're more incentivized to buy a writer's book if they have a built-in audience. And it really is that like chicken and I don't know if chicken and the egg is the right
Let it rock,
comparison,
man.
but yeah, it's like, how do I build an audience? I don't have an audience, and I can't build an audience because I don't have an audience.
Yeah.
So you really have to start from scratch, but putting yourself out there in multiple places where people can see you and connect with you as a person, like as a personal brand, I think is the most effective strategy.
Okay.
And then try to pull them into your written content.
And then for the consumer?
For the consumer, so like in your situation, you're saying, and honestly, I feel as someone who's been in the weeds of SEO for the past 7 years, your situation is quite rare, to be honest.
To want to compare different like versions of a thing?
All right, well, specifically you're saying like you don't really want to watch a 45-minute YouTube video about it. You would rather like read an article about it.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the point you're making?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've found over time like a huge shift towards people who would rather watch a video about it than read about it. And then especially on platforms like YouTube, we've seen over time, although it's swinging back, things always change, but long form videos for a while were doing really poorly. It was all about short form. And now we have situations with TikTok where somebody can give you like a quick and dirty rundown of 10 washing machines in 2 minutes, Whether or not that's the most effective strategy, it has the best retention rate.
Yeah, but I don't want a dirty washing machine. I want a clean one. I want the facts and figures. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my advice to you in that situation is obviously you can still use search engines like Google. You can look at the all Gemini results will have a little paperclip icon. So click on the paperclip and see what Gemini is referencing. It's probably going to be like Wikipedia, Quora, or Reddit. So basically, the impetus is going back on you to dig through, because the search results pages are still there.
Right.
So you have to kind of dig through them, and then if you find writers who you vibe with and you trust, then obviously it's up to you to kind of go back to the old school way. We were joking around too that like, when is the last time any of you guys listening, and like seriously, like comment, when is the last time you have actually put in a website and
like a new one?
Yeah, like a new website, found a new website, or consciously went to a website before going to Google first.
Yeah.
And like you got me unintentionally when it was like, is ask.com still a thing? I typed ask into the Google search bar, like without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
So the long and short of it is the impetus is going back to the user, I think, to do your own research, because we've gotten to this point where the vast majority of people are cool with just trusting what Google is saying on Gemini.
So help me figure this out. Because essentially what I've heard based on your two answers is that Google has tried to reduce friction for the user by creating a system in which the person asks a question and receives some kind of like automatically generated answer, and they're just in the ideal situation, they would just get it right the first time. And as a result, if I want to spread my information, I have to work 5 times as hard. And if I want to find out if the information I received is reliable, I have to work 5 times as hard. So, why?
Yeah, dude, I feel you, man. It's crazy. I mean, I feel like that's why the internet makes us feel old, you know, and that's why it feels like the internet as this amorphous thing just doesn't work the way it used to.
Yeah.
Like it's truly, it ain't like it used to be type of situation. And again, the long and short answer to your question there of like why is I really truly, and again, I think it's important to remind everybody that people who are involved in the SEO industry, it's all best guesswork, right? So it's all us just making educated guesses based on what we can see, the results that we put up based on the strategies that we've been implementing through the past 20 years. But I really do feel like it's this big self-fulfilling prophecy because user, why can I not think of words? User behavior, right, has got us to this point where Google is only doing what they think is best to get the most clicks on a page, right? And so it's almost like Google and the user have this weird, toxic, never-ending relationship of Google puts a page on the top, we click on it the most because it's on the top. So then Google thinks that's the best. We realize that it's not the best, but we've already clicked on it and we've already interacted with it. So Google keeps showing it to us like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so the original intent with Google is to help people navigate the World Wide Web, this infinite source of information that we were all grappling with and absorbing all at once back in the early 2000s. And it really was a beautiful thing. But because at the end of the day, people want to make money, and money makes the world go round, and people need their number to go up, very quickly people realized that getting your web page to the top of Google is one of the best ways you can make more money on the internet. And so people started gaming the system. When people start to game the system has to adapt to that. Google realized that they can make a ton of money by creating the game that everyone is now playing. And then it brings us to 2025, where the original goal of Google has basically been completely like subverted from where it once was. You know? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then one other question. You're an experienced search engine optimizer. I know you said it's about guesswork, but what's your best guess for, like, we've presented a lot of challenges for somebody in this industry. What do you think is the next wave? What do you think these professionals should do to get a leg up going forward?
Yeah, so right now obviously it's undeniable that, and this is obvious, but everyone colloquially says Google, right? And at the end of the day, it is important to note that this is just the way it is. It's over 90% of people use Google over other search engines, right? So it's mostly just Google, right?
Right.
And so,
but like, do you see that like changing with, like, I know people are asking questions to ChatGPT directly, for example.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and also these days there is some data showing that TikTok is actually becoming like the top search engine in the world. And a lot of people wouldn't even think of TikTok as a search engine.
Yeah.
But younger people like Gen Z and even younger and some millennials will go to TikTok first, which harkens back to what I was talking about earlier about user-generated content. But it's undeniable that we need to start understanding and unfortunately optimizing our content to be cited in the AI results.
Right. How does one do that?
It's the same strategy that we do with the Google search page. So essentially there are third-party platforms that have their own algorithms that try their best to emulate Google's algorithm, and then they will give you guidance on how to optimize your content around that. So it's similar to like the My Babushka's Borscht situation, but that is incredible. It's already super competitive on Google, right?
Right.
We didn't really get into the meat and potatoes of it on this episode, and maybe we can do like an SEO deep dive episode later down the line. But the long and short of it is it's a very competitive industry because everyone is competing for the top spots of Google. And so now everyone is competing to be cited on ChatGPT or Gemini, which is even more difficult because they're really just looking at like the top 2 or 3 results.
Yeah.
So
But like, are you getting rewarded for that behavior? Like, if you're cited in there, does that really matter as much?
The returns are way lower. I mean, we're still figuring it out right now. Like when we're recording this episode, we're in the thick of this AI, whatever you want to call it, revolution situation. But we can see through pure data that we have access to that the like click-through returns, so people actually clicking on your page are way lower.
Right.
So at the end of the day, throughout the past 20 years, I couldn't even tell you how many times people have said SEO, search engine optimization, is dead as an industry. I think we're in another one of those periods right now. But the thing is, that's never actually been the case. And to be honest, I think it's interesting in a way too that I feel like it's come full circle in other ways, because I do feel like, to answer your question, if you're in the SEO industry, we've spent 20 years kind of pulling back, I don't want to say pulling back the creative side, but learning how to use data to optimize your website, your content as much as possible. And I think the new wave of optimization is through social proof and building authority with your user base. So it really goes back to being as personable as possible and connecting with your audience as much as possible, because that is the new way forward. It's almost like the SEO industry is shifting from being very data driven to being very content and creative forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's like rather than an influential institution, individual influencers are being pushed to the forefront.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we see that on Google too. Like Google has a new tab now for like short form video content because they've caught on to how popular TikTok is, obviously. So they're trying to show people TikToks on Google to get that feedback loop. So yeah, I think the new way forward, honestly, is really like putting yourself out there and attaching yourself and your personality to the content that you're creating. And that doesn't necessarily have to be like literally your face, you know, but that's the new way forward, is building connections with your audience and getting them to come to you first, not finding you through Google.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds dreadful.
That's where we're at. I'm old. I miss the good old days.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought it's an interesting subject.
Yeah,
Obviously,
definitely.
it's all about, as we say, making that number go up. And obviously, as content creators ourselves in the business world, it's highly relevant. So I'm always down. Thank you for letting me gab away at you. You know, I rant about this all the time. It's a very fascinating industry.
Yeah.
And I think we could do like several episodes about different areas of search engine marketing. So if you're interested in that, definitely let us know in the comments down below. Give us that engagement, baby. Interact. Hit the like button. Hit the little bell so you don't miss the next episode. It's the best way to support the show. It's the best way to show the Google algorithm that you dig our content and want to see more of it. And until next time, Kingsley.
Number goes up.
Number goes up.
Bye.
Bye.